The son sat alone in the dimly lit living room, flipping through the old wedding album his parents had kept hidden in the attic. The pictures were faded, but the joy in their faces still seemed to shine through. As he reached the last page, a chill ran down his spine. There, in the corner of one photo, was a face he didn't recognize, an unfamiliar figure standing behind his parents. But the worst part? It was a face he had seen just the day before. Ryan never paid much attention to the dusty boxes in the attic, but something about that rainy afternoon pulled him toward them. Amid the yellowed newspapers and brittle photo albums, he found his parents' wedding pictures, ones he'd never seen before. The album was wrapped in delicate lace, almost like a veil, as if meant to keep something out, or in. The photos began innocently, his mother in her flowing white dress, his father grinning awkwardly in a too-tight tuxedo. Friends. Family. Laughter frozen in time. But as Ryan flipped through the pages, unease crept in like a fog. In several photos, especially the ones taken outside the chapel, a figure loomed in the background. Pale. Expressionless. Always at a distance, yet somehow always staring. He squinted. The face was strangely familiar. Then it hit him. It was the same face of the man he'd seen across the street just the day before, standing motionless by the lamppost as Ryan took out the trash. Same hollow eyes. Same sharp cheekbones. But he didn't know this man. And this man had no place in a wedding that happened over 2 decades ago. Heart pounding, Ryan turned the album over, hoping it was a mistake. But the figure appeared again, this time closer. Almost touching his mother's veil. Panicked, he ran downstairs, album in hand. His mother stood at the kitchen sink, humming. When he showed her the photos, she went silent. Her hands trembled. "You were never supposed to see these," she whispered. Ryan's mouth went dry. "Who is he?" She looked at him, eyes wide with a fear he'd never seen before. "He's the reason we never talk about the wedding." And outside the kitchen window, the man was watching. It was supposed to be a simple weekend chore, helping his parents clear out the basement. But when Ethan stumbled upon an old trunk labeled wedding keepsakes, curiosity got the better of him. Inside, beneath dried-up rose petals and a yellowed invitation, was a photo album. Their wedding day. Everyone looked so happy, his father young and proud, his mother radiant in her lace gown. Ethan smiled, flipping through the pages. Then he stopped. In nearly every group photo, there was a man in the background. He wore a dark suit, slightly out of place among the brighter, festive clothes. He stood with his hands at his sides, never smiling. Never changing position. His expression was blank. Cold. "Who's this guy?" Ethan asked, bringing the album upstairs. His parents stiffened. His mother looked first at the photo, then at Ethan. "You shouldn't joke about things like that," she said quietly. "I'm not joking. He's in every photo. Look." His father's face paled. No, we had them removed. We had them all reprinted." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" "He's right here." They both fell silent. A tension filled the room, as if some unspoken rule had been broken. Finally, his father spoke. "We don't know who he was. He didn't speak. No one invited him. But he appeared in every photo. Even the ones taken before the ceremony." Ethan stared at them, heart pounding. "Why didn't you stop him?" His mother's eyes welled up. "Because no one saw him, until the photos came back." A chill ran down Ethan's spine. Later that night, unable to sleep, he looked at the photos again. His blood ran cold. In the reflection of the glass frame, the silent guest stood behind him. Watching. Jake was never one for nostalgia, but when his grandmother passed, he inherited a box of old family albums. One night, unable to sleep, he cracked one open, his parents' wedding album. He'd seen a few photos before, but this one was different. It felt heavier somehow, like it held more than just memories. The photos were beautifully taken, vibrant smiles, delicate decor, a perfect day captured forever. But halfway through, Jake paused. In a picture of his mother walking down the aisle, there was a shadow in the background. Not just any shadow, a figure. Blurry. Tall. Standing behind a pillar. He flipped to another photo. There it was again, this time closer, near the altar. Always just outside the group. Never facing the camera directly. Jake leaned in. The figure's face was turned ever so slightly, enough to reveal empty, black eyes. He shut the album and rubbed his face, heart hammering. Maybe it was a trick of the light. Maybe. Then his phone lit up. New photo added to album, today. Confused, he opened it. It was the same wedding picture, but now, the figure had moved. No longer in the background. It stood among the guests. Its head turned directly toward Jake. He froze. Behind him, the temperature dropped. The hair on his neck rose. Slowly, he turned toward the hallway mirror. Nothing. He glanced back at the phone. New photo added, now. The figure was standing behind him. Closer. He dropped the phone. It clattered to the ground, screen facing up. The last thing Jake saw before the screen went black was his own reflection. And just over his shoulder. A faint, grinning face. Lena had flipped through her parents' wedding album dozens of times as a child, enchanted by the fairy tale ceremony and her mother's glowing smile. But after her father's sudden passing, something compelled her to dig it out again. She wasn't looking for answers, just comfort. The album was exactly as she remembered. The garden ceremony. The vintage car. Her parents' friends laughing in soft focus shots. But on the third page, she noticed something odd, a man standing just behind the wedding party, dressed in black. His face was strange, not frightening, just off. Blurry around the edges, as if the camera couldn't fully capture him. Lena frowned. She didn't remember him. She flipped the page. There he was again. Closer. By the fifth photo, he stood near her mother, one hand almost reaching for her shoulder. Lena's stomach knotted. She took the album to her mother. "Mom, who is this?" Her mother's expression changed instantly, shock, then something deeper. Fear. "I don't know," she whispered. "He shouldn't be there. We had those photos edited. Years ago." "You remember him?" Her mother hesitated, eyes darting to the window. "I used to dream about him. For years. Then I forgot." Lena turned back to the album. The final photo had always been her favorite, her parents dancing under fairy lights. But now, the man was in the background, face finally visible. And Lena knew him. She didn't know how or from where, but the recognition hit like a wave. That face had watched her before, in dreams, in crowds, in the corner of her childhood room. Always there, never remembered. Until now. Her phone buzzed. A new image saved to her camera roll. It was her reflection. And behind her stood the forgotten face, smiling. Maya was digitizing old family photos when she found a loose Polaroid tucked behind a frame. Faded and curling at the edges, it showed her parents on their wedding day, laughing beside the cake. She smiled until she noticed something strange. In the mirror behind them, there was a third person. A woman in a dark dress stood in the reflection, though she wasn't anywhere in the actual photo. Her face was turned, just enough to see one eye staring directly at the camera. It wasn't just eerie, it was impossible. Maya checked the other photos from the same day. Nothing unusual. She returned to the Polaroid. The woman in the mirror seemed closer now. She rubbed her eyes and looked again. Same gaze. Same half-turn. But the angle looked different. More direct. Her chest tightened. She brought the photo to her mother. "Who's this woman in the mirror?" she asked. Her mother looked. And instantly went pale. The silence was long and heavy. "I thought I burned that picture," her mother whispered. Why? Who is she? She was never there, Maya. We saw her only after the wedding, in the prints. Always just in reflections. I don't know who she is. But she followed us for years. Then one day, she disappeared. And we never spoke of her again. Maya stared at the photo, heart pounding. Is it a ghost? Her mother didn't answer. Just stared at the image, her hand trembling. Later that night, Maya heard a faint rustling. She turned to her desk. The photo now showed Maya standing in the reflection, with the woman just behind her. Smiling. Waiting. When Daniel inherited his late uncle's farmhouse, he wasn't expecting much beyond dust and old furniture. But while exploring the attic, he found a box labeled "Do Not Open, 1987." Inside was a vintage camera and a thick stack of undeveloped film rolls. Curiosity 1. He had the film processed at a specialty lab. Most were typical family photos, birthdays, holidays, smiling faces. But one set stood out. Pictures from his parents' wedding, taken decades ago. Photos he'd never seen before. He flipped through them slowly until one made his heart stop. In a wide shot of the reception hall, everyone was laughing, raising glasses. But in the center of the dance floor stood a man in an old military coat. He wasn't laughing. Wasn't even smiling. Just staring at the camera, unblinking. Daniel had never seen him before. He looked at the next photo. The same man, closer now. Still staring. Each subsequent photo brought him nearer, always locked on the lens. And then, in the final image, the man was inches away. Face pale. Eyes hollow. Lips parted as if caught mid-whisper. The envelope had one final photo. It wasn't from the wedding. It was Daniel, present day, sleeping in the farmhouse bed. The same man stood over him, finger pressed to his lips. Daniel stumbled back, panic flooding his chest. He turned toward the staircase, but froze. On the dusty hallway wall, a fresh Polaroid was pinned with a rusty tack.